Jamie, I've just got one question for you. Are you into catalytic converters?
Yes.
Do you know what they are?
No.
Well, I was just thinking back to my, I think, high school education in environmental science. And I believe catalytic converters have something to do with converting like the waste that comes out of like a factory or something and like taking certain air pollutants out, converting it into, say, cleaner air and then pumping it back out into the world, into the atmosphere.
Seems like a relatively decent thing, then.
Yeah. And so I was asking if you like them because I was thinking of like a couple new intros to our show, Game Joy.
Where we take out our polluting words and make them cleaner?
No, where it's like Game Joy, the catalytic converter for games into joy.
Oh.
But don't worry, that wasn't the best one I thought of. I think the best one I thought of was Welcome to Game Joy, a show about games, joy, and then I get lost. Then it's like a show about games, joy, and the joy that games can bring us, or something like that. Because it's like...
That's a little redundant.
You think it's redundant, but it's like, it's about games, right? We're talking about games.
Right.
And then it's about joy. Sometimes we mention things that aren't games that bring us joy.
True.
And then games that bring us joy. It's like narrowing the scope. But it seems like
tying them together.
It seems like you think I kind of have to go back to the drawing board, maybe.
I feel there's something there. There's something there, but I do think it needs more time on the drawing board.
Maybe let's both try to say it in sync now, just to get a clean take for the show.
Okay.
Welcome to Game Joy. We're supposed to say it together.
Game about joy?
No.
Oh.
Welcome to Game Joy.
Okay, welcome to Game Joy.
A show.
About joy.
About games.
About games.
Joy. And then like I wonder if it is like and getting better or something like that. But that's kind of like the min-max.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. A show about games, joy. A show about games and joy.
And almond joys.
No, I do like almond joys though.
Almond joys bring me joy.
Welcome to Game Joy, a show about games, joy, and games that bring us joy. You hate it.
I don't hate it.
I wish the listeners could see your face right now.
There's just something better.
Okay. Well, welcome to Game Joy. There's just something better. I'm Johnny, and I'm here with my partner,
Jamie.
And we're gonna talk about some games. That was what you call a cold open, Jamie. How did you find that it like hit you? Like, do you think, put yourself in the shoes of someone who's picking this up, listening to it. Say they're doing the dishes, some task that they want to make brighter.
You know, Johnny, my love, what sort of games have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing Persona 3 and Persona 3 Reload in particular, because as we discussed, there have been 4 Persona 3 games in existence. There was the first Persona 3 that was just a straight up Persona 3. Then there was Persona 3 Fez. Don't know why it was called that. Then Persona 3 Portable on the PSP. Very rare game. If you can get your hands on it, you got like a $200 bill there. And then there was Persona 3 Reload, which just came out in 2024.
Oh, that's recent.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they kind of went back to the series. So I've been playing that. It's like my first Persona game that I have been actually playing and into. I played.
This is a turn of events because you tried 4.
Yeah, I played Persona 4 Golden for like 10 to 12 hours and couldn't really get into it.
You kind of struggled with it.
And I've been playing this one for about 30. So
you're in it.
I'm in it. I'm fully in it. I'm in the loop. And before I get into talking more about it, I just wanted, we were watching Community last night, the famous comedy show, beloved. And I was thinking like, if somehow in a world that were more perfect, more joyful, and the developers over at Atlas, the people who make Persona, got like the license to make a community game, and they made like Community Persona, how freaking sick that would be.
People would love that.
I mean, I would love it because I was watching it and there's like the sexual tension between Jeff Winger and his female classmates. There's the comic relief of these guys who are like there's the shitty friend who's like always saying bad things, which is Pierce. There's the, two comic reliefs in Abed and Troy.
And we just watched the episode where the dean is watching some video of like a dancing dog mascot with the classic line, "I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me." And that would be a great,
Persona.
Persona,
No,
yeah.
like seriously, that thing looks like personas.
Well, there you go.
Like they're all like dog mascots with like 5 hands coming out of their head and riding a horse with many eyes and stuff. And it's anyway,
I think you might be onto something.
Someone out there who's like in the entertainment industry who's like a fixer who like brings things together. I think this could be a really, really good partnership.
Someone out there, if you ever hear this and you have the power,
make it happen.
Make it happen.
So anyway, Persona 3 Reload, I have a lot of thoughts, and I know it's a beloved series like Persona is, and everyone has their favorite, usually between 3, 4, and 5, because the first couple were like really the developers getting their feet wet. So it started out as a series called Shin Megami Tensei, which is still a series, and that's like tactical role-playing games. And then one Shin Megami Tensei game added in this kind of like high school setting, and people loved it. It sold really well. So they were like, we'll just do an offshoot called Persona that's like Shin Megami Tensei set with high schoolers and high school drama and all of this. And so that kind of has eventually become high schoolers leveling up their friendships, which are called social links. And that gives their like Pokemon, basically, for lack of a better term, that they use in the dungeons to fight turn-based battles, more power. And so it oscillates back and forth between kind of a life sim, in some cases like a life sim, socializing with friends, sometimes romantic partners if you want to get into that, but you don't have to, and then a dungeon crawler. So it goes like kind of half and half. And you like live out a year as a high schooler in and around Japan, depending on the game you're in. In Persona 3 Reload, you're in like a part of Tokyo, I think, kind of like a suburb. And in Persona 5, you're in like central, like you're in Shibuya and places like that. And then in Persona 4, famously, you're in like the countryside of Japan. And that's why a lot of people like that game, because it's like a small town murder mystery going on in the background. But Persona 3 Reload, I really like it. I think part of the reason why I like it better than 4 is just because it has some quality of life updates. Like the graphics are beautiful. It's made in Unreal. The dungeons are procedurally generated to the point where they're not just like you're replaying the same thing over and over again, which that's what it's like playing Persona 4 Golden right now, which came out, I believe, in like 2012. So it's well over 10 years old.
Okay. And that's because there's a new Persona 4 coming out soon.
Yeah, there's
right?
a Persona 4. I don't know
some
what they're
label
calling
on
it, but it's like,
and that would probably be the equivalent of a Persona 3 Reload.
Exactly.
Like remade, quality of life improvements.
Yeah. And with Persona, it's weird because they always do the base game and then a year later, like a expanded version where there's just like a little more story and a few new things. And I don't know why. It's probably just to make money.
I wonder also if it might be the stuff they had to cut out to meet the deadlines, and then they opt to release it as
at this
extra
point
content.
They have like blank checks though. At this
True.
point it's just
Who
for
knows?
money. Maybe at one point it was for that. But then so it's like now they're doing this thing where in our era of remakes where everything's getting a remake or remaster, they're just kind of bringing those older games into kind of the newer game design style, making them a lot more like Persona 5 Royal. And so I've never played that. We don't own it. But I would like to see what it's like after this. I think it's hitting me at a really good time too, because I'm kind of in this little dead zone between like wrapping stuff up here and going to law school. So I like have time, and honestly, like it's helped me get more excited about being in the rhythm of a student and like being around new people. So I actually want to like pitch that as an essay for like a game site or something, just because I think that it would be an interesting read.
I hadn't even really connected those dots that it's a school-related game and you're about to start law school. That's so serendipitous.
Yeah, I'm hoping to finish it up before I get into it, because I think if I get into, like, I dig into law school stuff, it might not get finished.
Right.
But
It's going to be too much of the same.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's like gorgeous, and so much of it is done so well, and I love it. It's like become one of my favorite games. So like I can't recommend it highly enough in that sense. But then
I'm hearing a butt coming in here.
Yeah, it's like, but there are just parts of it where it's like, I was telling you this the other night. It's like, it is in no way politically correct whatsoever. And so it's like, it feels weird to me as someone who's like, tries to, have the correct values and social consciousness and stuff like this, to recommend it, because like, there are just certain parts of it that make me genuinely really uncomfortable, and I can see would like, for someone who's not like a cis white man, like be kind of disqualifying. Like some of the optional outfits for like your female counterparts are like battle panties, and the description is like makes men weak and stuff like that. And then like you have no equivalent for, your male counterparts. And then there are some things that like are weird in terms of like Japanese racism and Japanese like cultural like discomfort with homosexuality, which was a bigger thing in 4. But an example in 3 that I found really bizarre is there's like a mage persona called Jack Frost, which is like a snowman, a cute snowman who's sling spells. And then another version of him is called Black Frost, and he's like talking about how he's gonna like teach you like street talk and stuff. And I'm like, oh no, why are we doing this? And it's like a 60-hour game, right? So this is like 1 minute in a 60-hour game, but it's like these minutes that hang me up on the fact of like it becoming my personality, right? Where it's like, I love it, I want to finish it, and I think it is a great game if you are in the right like state of mind and state of your life, which I will get into later because I think that is a big factor. But there are just parts of it that like really are questionable, and I totally get if they are disqualifying for a lot of people. I mean, it's a beloved series, but like every game has had these issues, and I doubt they will go away.
Well, yeah, and something you talked about was that was something that they could have just removed in the redone versions.
Yeah, I mean, it's like no more acceptable that it was like, oh, well, in 2009, this was a more okay. Like, I'm not saying that, but like, you made the mistake once, and then in the remaster, you could just be like, oh, this is kind of bad. Like, let's not include that, or let's like include other, let's include more romanceable characters of like same-sex relationships, or include maybe a non-binary character, or increase representation in that way. And like Atlas never does that for the Persona games. They're like notorious for not doing that. And so like in the upcoming Persona 4 remake, one of the biggest things people have a problem with from Persona 4 Golden is like there's a whole dungeon, like a whole kind of chapter of the story designed around the like town bully being gay. Mm-hmm. And like that could be like a really interesting storyline to dig into, because like the self-hatred and like learning to love oneself. But instead it's like more framed as like, oh, we have to defeat the gayness type of thing. No. And like people are really wondering about like this upcoming remake where it's like it's going to be 2026, 2027. It's like you can't really be leaving that in there, right? But it's like they probably will, because that's just their MO. So
yeah, I imagine their argument and decision behind that, or choices behind that, thought process behind the decision, is that once you start choosing what to take out, then you're faced with what you take out and what you leave in. And like if they were to choose to leave something in and take something else out, that could be equally frowned upon or
here's the answer.
Called out.
What you take out is the parts that are like needlessly hateful.
I know, but it's just like, who's going to trust a company to make the right decisions there? And they're probably, I'm sure in their minds, they're just thinking, well, if we take things out, we run the risk of more judgment, rather than if we leave it in, we can just say, we're not touching everything. This was the original. We're redoing it. We're
Okay,
not
well
gonna
then
touch
I
it.
hope Persona 6 doesn't include this, because even parts of Persona 5 had some questionable things. Like, it's not really changing. So
I know. And I'm definitely not saying that I agree with that standpoint whatsoever, but I am unsurprised that as
no, yeah.
a company that they would make that decision.
Yeah, so I didn't really want to spend all my time talking about Persona 3 and how much it's problematic, because like that, as far as like moments in gameplay, is like literally 30 seconds for each of those things, and then you're just like, you don't put the battle panties on, and you don't use Black Frost, and you like don't do all these things,
Well,
and then it's like the game is wonderful.
it is, I think, really interesting, and this is something I've been thinking about, is how just the phrase and the concept that, it only takes one or a few bad apples to ruin a whole batch, or to make ourselves perceive that a whole batch is ruined. And I've just kind of had that on my mind a little bit more, and it definitely makes me think of that hearing about that Persona experience, because all it can take is a small few moments in a huge game to make you question whether it's a game you want to be playing and supporting and advocating for. And I think that definitely can be valid. I mean, those are things that you don't want to perpetuate in today's age. And I think there's also another side to look at it, where it's almost a practice within oneself to focus on the joy and the good, and to not try to let those small moments, I guess, take over or ruin the whole thing. And granted, I think that's a lot trickier, maybe more considerate of a thing when you're dealing with homophobia, racism, transphobia, whatever else, because those are extremely harmful things to perpetuate and continue to perpetuate. But I think kind of on a day-to-day, I feel like it brings up the thought of looking at and introspecting on what we focus on, and what like little moments we focus on in the whole of a day. And I guess that's just been something kind of on my mind, also with playing games, is how we let little moments we didn't like taint or not taint our perception of it as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just like, it's interesting to watch or play other media from the same time and see them like not fall into those, bad mistakes. Like, for instance, Community, where it's like it was coming out during a time where like a lot of the jokes they could make could be a lot more mean-spirited, could be a lot less redeemable, but then like that's a show where you can tell the writers were really they're so good at walking that line, where like Persona 3 Reload walks the line, but not purposefully, and just like crosses it when it's like, I don't know, like this 30 seconds of like, why did you put this in here? Like, it makes no sense. Whereas like Community is like, we are going to build our show on like walking this tightrope the entire time. And so it's like every time that someone's saying something like, harmful, mean, politically incorrect, whatever you want to call it, like the next beat always redeems it, it seems like, in that show. And that's kind of why I've been really enjoying watching the show and thinking about it in the context of Persona 3 as well. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and it's a cool experience to see those parallels. And because I feel like without that, there'd maybe be a tendency to find ways to justify moments of, oh, this was old. And I mean, there's not really any justification, but it's to have the parallel of a show that's doing it better, or a piece of art that's doing it more intentionally, is nice to have, to be able to reflect more thoroughly on what Persona is not doing well in that regard.
Sure. So Persona 3 Reload, I really love it. I feel like for all of the bad moments I mentioned, like there'll be moments where it's just like one of your special moves is like a little jack-o'-lantern man doing like stand-up comedy, or like, you know, a character arc where you're getting closer to someone in your community who you're just like, oh, what a goofball, and then they end up having like a really poignant story, or like one of the central like social links, or not central, but a social link you can explore is like two elderly book owners like grappling with the idea of like their son, the tree that is like commemorating their son's death being cut down in like the school courtyard, and like for whatever reason. And it's just like, there are so many wonderful things about the game that I don't want those few moments of like, if I completely just like close my eyes and ears for 15 seconds, this would be a perfect game. Like, I don't want those to like soil the whole experience. But I do think, you know, for a franchise that is so beloved, and for, you know, folks who are listening to this podcast probably somewhat interested in games, have definitely heard about Persona as like this, you know, awesome game that I think does feel inaccessible to a lot of people. It's important to like mention the parts that are there that are like bad because I think Persona kind of gets like an unblemished reputation for being great among its fan base, and it's not that. But that kind of brings me to my final point that I'll say about Persona 3 on this recording, which is like, for me, connecting with Persona has been so much about like the life circumstance that I've been in, where it's like when I was playing 4, we were like, I think I was playing it while we were moving to the East Coast the first time. And like I was playing it in the car, and there was a lot of change going on. And so when I was asked to like spend time with these in-game characters, you know, like spend whatever, like 20 minutes listening to this person talk about whatever's happening in their fake life, I was like, I can't, like, there's a lot going on in my life right now that like I need to focus on. And like the dungeon crawling felt repetitive. I just didn't really have the time to put in. And it is a game that really rewards you for steeping in it and immersing yourself in it in the type of way that I think you like to play games more than me normally. But doing so now with like my last little bit of free time before diving into the law school experience has felt like so joyful, necessary, and like a balm to my anxiety in a way, because it's like I'm immersing myself in this routine that will like go on to become my routine. I mean, not exactly the same, but like, you know, get up, go to school, do one activity, go to bed type of thing. And that is like helped me visualize that so much. And so I feel like it's the perfect like summer break game. It's the perfect like break from school game, I guess, because it's something that you can like pour a lot of your time in. It demands to be kind of like the one game you're playing. And then when you're done, like, at least for me, like I probably won't go back and play Persona 3 Reload again, but like I'm excited to experience the other Persona games now. So I don't think I would love it always. Like even in like 6 months, I'd probably be like, how did I play that 50-hour RPG? But like in certain times of life, I think it's like perfect. So if you don't connect with it once, a lot of people will say like, oh, you just have to give it like 5 more hours or whatever. I don't agree with that. I actually think like pick it up another time, like years down the road, and see if it connects with you in a different way, because that's definitely been my experience.
Yeah, and I feel like that goes for a lot of different games. And I feel like that's a pretty common anecdote of a game just not being for a person in that moment of their life. And I think that also just speaks so much to what games do for us and how people engage with games. I think if games didn't speak to us as deeply as they can and often do, then we would kind of be able to play them just whenever. And this is actually making me think of the mobile game that you got me slightly addicted to. I've stayed away from many a mobile game. I've never gone down that rabbit hole except for a brief addiction to Genshin Impact. Don't come for me, please. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed about it. It's fine. But you introduced me to a cute little game called Poinpy. It's
Hell yeah.
adorable.
Poinpy is free.
Free.
Because it just
cute.
got freed from Netflix. There's a whole story behind that.
Oh, really? Oh,
but
I didn't
yeah,
know
if you
this.
just look up Ojiro Fumoto, who is the designer, like interview about Poinpy, being free from Netflix. There's like an article on it that's good.
Wow, I'll have to look into that. But super fun, super adorable, but definitely still in that mobile game realm where it's short, the loops are quick, so it's super easy to pull out and like play between things, you know, when you're on the run, when you're just like waiting for a little moment, when you just want a little game to play.
Waiting for the ferry.
Waiting for the ferry, but that also means that maybe particularly for someone like me, it was very addicting, and I might have spent like a whole 2 hours on a flight playing it over and over and over and over and over again, and got really fixated on it until I completed it. And if that's something that you feel like you can like control your impulses on, great. Love that for you. But I think what I'm thinking of is that a game like that feels like just something you can play anytime, anywhere, any moment in your life. But then when you get into and maybe this is just really exposing my philosophy on games and how I think of games and how I feel about mobile games. I feel like when you get into games where you're actually connecting with them and you're not just doing it as kind of like a little distraction or just like a little fun thing to do, when you're getting into almost games that I perceive as an art form that really are speaking to your soul, I think you start hitting those games that like are for the right moments in your lives. And I think that's when you really get to those beautiful, impactful, and sometimes life-changing moments with interacting with games as an art form. I, again, can't really remember where I was at in my gaming journey the last episode that we recorded, but I have officially finished the Outer Wilds DLC along with Outer Wilds, but I did the DLC after, which was super fun, wonderful, loved it, very cool, definitely a bit scarier than the base game. Really enjoyed that. It was also fun. I live streamed that, so it was also just really cool to get to play that like alongside other people who had both either played the game or hadn't played the game and were big fans of it. So that was super fun. And then I finished Shadow of the Colossus and then started Metal Gear Solid 1. And then after finishing Outer Wilds, I have recently started Mina the Hollower, which is a 2026 recent release indie platformer. And that has been really fun because I love that style, but I'm not too deep into that game yet, but I'm loving the start of it so far. So really, I'm kind of continuing my balance of some classics that I didn't grow up playing and then some newer released indies, which I always love. And yeah, kind of, I mean, it's been the same with the other games I've been playing, which are on the older side and kind of the PS1, PS2 era. It's just really cool to see games that maybe graphically don't hold up in today's age, but at least gameplay wise, I mean, you can see how so many games were inspired by those games. And I would love even more to deep dive onto what games the ones I'm playing were inspired by, because I'm sure it's a whole long train of gaming history, but it's just really cool to play those and to see that like even in this day they are really fun games to play. At the end of the day, I'm doing it because I love playing games and just like want to be able to share that with people. So I mean, I guess maybe like the one thing I would focus on is that it's cool to get to play these games that so many other people love and grew up loving and are like so excited to see someone new get to experience. And I feel like it really is such a beautiful practice in sharing joy with other people, because it's just so cool to see other people be so excited about me discovering a certain part in the game, or just them being happy that I'm enjoying the game. And it feels like just this back and forth kind of cycle and two-way street of just shared joy in a really incredible game. And I love to reflect on stories and games and characters and what's going on. And I think that often really resonates with people who grew up feeling impacted with a game. So it just feels very much like kind of a shared human experience, which I think is really beautiful and definitely makes gaming feel a lot more meaningful to me, like getting to share in that with other people.
Beautifully said.
Mostly, I'm kind of just excited. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be playing Mina the Hollower, and then I think tomorrow I'm gonna try out Fields of Mystria, which released today for 1.0. And to me, it feels like it's been a little while since I've gotten to dive into the more recent indie game scene, and I'm feeling just really eager to get back into that because I think that truly is where my heart is. Something I was noticing is just very initially in Mina the Hollower, there were some battles that I was actually really proud of myself for because I used to be such a button masher, and in real-time combat, I wouldn't really think about what I was doing all that much. I would just kind of roll around and not think about how I was trying to dodge and but be trying to dodge and not think about how I was attacking but be trying to attack. And I felt really proud of myself because in some of the first battles in Mina the Hollower, I tried to be really intentional about thinking about what the enemy's attack patterns were, what I was doing with my character, and did like a first try battle on something that I didn't think I would be able to first try. So, it's growth and improvement. And as a gamer, I was proud of myself for that improvement. So that was a little reflection point. Also, a fun little thing is that Mina Hollower has a built-in manual in the game, which I thought was really cool. I love a good manual. They don't seem to really include any in-game tutorial bits. Basically, it seems like you're expected to just reference the manual that's in kind of the options start menu for the information you want, and they don't force that in the game at all, which I think is fantastic. I think every game should do it that way so that you can kind of opt for whatever information you want to have or don't want to have. So I don't know if you've ever heard of another game, like more modern game doing something like that, but that was something that I thought was really cool, especially as a manual reading lover.
The one that comes to mind is Tunic, where like a mechanic is actually finding the manual as you go. So
Oh, that's
like
fun.
you there's things that you can always do, but you don't know like the button combos or like situations in which you can do them. And then it's kind of gated by the fact that you have to find that knowledge, and then once you do, combat gets easier, traversal gets easier or whatever, but that's the one that comes to mind.
Interesting. And that's a fun way to engage with that mechanic and unlock controls as you go on in the game. I'm curious if Mina the Hollower will have anything like that, but the manual was extremely long.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same
So,
thing.
yeah, I think you have all the information available right off the bat, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep following your journey there because I know that it's probably 2026 like one of 2026's biggest indies. So
Yeah.
excited to see you fly. If folks want to find you like on the internet or anywhere, where can they do so?
Little Red Jam,
On all platforms,
YouTube and Twitch.
all the platforms that matter. Sweet. Well, thanks for listening, folks, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, y'all.